Finally, today we've got huge news. We're building gloom-resistant technology to allow us to venture deeper into the gloom, which means we'll be able to travel inside it even further. We're also going to talk about a new Bile-Titan variant that was hinted at a few months back. Not only that, I'm going to show you how to launch a black hole in-game, and there's even more to cover. If you enjoy the content, as always, please show some love by tapping the like button below the video. I'd really appreciate it so much.
Welcome to my channel.
Jump right in.
Streamlaments. Welcome to my channel.
Well, Helldivers, the time has finally come. We're going to travel inside the gloom and hopefully put an end to whatever's causing the thick yellow gas to appear on the right side. In the newest Major Order briefing, High Command revealed that the Xenoentomology Center scientists are on the verge of a breakthrough. They've discovered a new type of shielding for the Super Destroyer, allowing us to venture deeper into the gloom. We've also got some scientific details that are pretty interesting to say the least. It seems we're going to be using proteins from terminid exoskeletons as a coating for the FTL drive components, essentially a new synthetic polymer coating. This will disrupt the gloom spore's surface cohesion apparently. To build this technology, we must collect a ton of rare terminus samples. You might be asking, how many? The answer is 30 million rare samples, specifically from the Jinshi sectors. And we have to hold turn in Oknar Secundus or whatever. I'm mispronouncing it. To protect these scientists and engineers. The Major Order will end in 5 days, by the way. All in all, that's pretty much everything you need to know. I must say I'm excited that we're finally pushing forward with the Gloom storyline because it's been ages since we've heard anything new. I thought we'd never hear about the Gloom again, especially since the Illuminate showed up a few months back. Hopefully with the latest news from High Command, we'll eventually see a Hive Lord boss as well as new Terminate enemies. I personally don't want to see new variants. I'd like to see entirely new enemies to face. I think at this point I'm done with the new variants from both the Terminate and Automaton factions. I'm not sure how many of you out there feel the same, but I'm just exhausted from seeing variants. I want something new to fight. Like how we had to battle the new Automaton War Striders. That was fun. If we can get something exciting and new on the Terminate side, I'd be thrilled to see it. Nevertheless, I'd like to know if you're ecstatic about the new Major Order and whether you'd like to see new enemies rather than new variants. Let me know by posting a response in the comments. Since we're talking about new variants, we might just receive a brand new Bile-Titan variant because we have some more news on that in a little bit. But right now, we have this post from 187 that posted this talking about Spore Burst Bile-Titans.
Orbit synchronized.
He was hit by just a normal Bile-Titan, and it says that he was taken out by a puker. Now, this right here is very interesting. This suggests that one of the Bile-Titans will be a new variant called a puker, which is pretty crazy. Now, there's a lot of comments in this thread where someone said Spore Burst what, and then you've got some other ones that are just posting memes and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it looks like the new variant is going to be a Bile-Titan. As soon as we get further into the gloom, that is. Someone asked, what the hell is a Spore Burst Bile-Titan? And someone else here said that it's a sub-faction Titan. So, yeah, it definitely looks like we're getting something here, and it's going to be incredible to see what this brand new Bile-Titan will do. On a related note, there's a possibility of seeing a new Bile-Titan variant. A few months back, when High Command revealed that they'd launch a Gloom expedition into Fori Prime, there was also a video on the Super Destroyer from Fred and Kelly that showed a mysterious Bile-Titan figure, like right here. This is peculiar. There's a good chance we could see a new Bile-Titan.
This city
No, J3, move out. Move. Move it, people!
Eagle 1 leaving combat zone to resupply.
Calling down a sentry! Requesting sentry! Tagging location. Objective located. North, 200 meters.
Objective near your position.
Reloading! This called democracy! Counter breach! Have a taste of democracy! Requesting sentry!
Enemy tactical asset within range. Outpost destroyed.
Hellbomb, armed! Clear the area! Dropping a pin, northeast, 200 meters. Follow me! Hold on! Down a sentry!
Main objective near your position. Terminate hive structure destroyed.
That's called democracy! Calling down a sentry! Requesting sentry! Got a sample. Affirmative. Calling in a hellbomb. Tagging map. Northeast, 200 meters. Calling down a sentry. Hellbomb armed. Clear the area. Marking location. North. Cancel that. Heavy.
I think that's an impaler.
Dropping a pin.
You have served
100 meters.
democracy well. Extraction awaits.
Throwing grenade! Throwing grenade! Requesting air support! Requesting sentry! Bug hive spotted!
Their lives were in our hands.
Tagging map. East, 100 meters.
Good job, people. Good job.
Tunnel breach! Thank you. Heavy! Northeast. Close. Enemy elite. Southeast. Close. Sending in an eagle!
Main objective
Tagging map. North. 200 meters.
Requesting sentry.
Calling down a sentry. Requesting sentry. Heavy. East. Close.
Calling down a sentry. Dropping a pin. Southwest, 100 meters. Requesting sentry. Negative. I'm sorry. Affirmative. Mission at 30 minutes remaining.
Do we still need samples, guys? People?
Requesting tac pack. Bug tunnel breach.
Got a sample.
Calling in
Reinforcing.
reinforcements.
Thank you.
Affirmative.
Tagging map. Northwest. 300 meters.
Reinforcing. Requesting advanced weaponry. Tagging map. Northwest, 100 meters.
Calling down a sentry. Requesting sentry. Heavy. Northwest. Close. You will never destroy our way of life.
Affirmative.
Have a taste of democracy.
Calling down a sentry.
Sample collected.
Bug tunnel breach. Requesting air support. Requesting sentry.
never destroy our way of life! Tagging map. Southeast. 200 meters. Thank you.
Calling in extraction.
Affirmative.
Calling in extraction.
Mag's empty.
Extraction shuttle inbound.
Requesting air support. They have voted democracy.
Requesting sentry.
Mag's empty. Requesting fortification.
T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds.
Affirmative. Calling down a sentry.
Requesting air support.
Requesting sentry.
Reinforcing.
Thank you. Support weapon.
Oh.
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
Calling down a support weapon. Liberty save me! Heavy.
ETA T-minus 30 seconds.
Heavy. Cancel that. Heavy. East. Close.
ETA T-minus 20 seconds. ETA T-minus 10 seconds. Clear landing zone.
Take the zone to democracy. Pelican 1 approaching pickup.
South, 50 meters.
This is Pelican 1, preparing for touchdown. Sending in an eagle.
Watch out, S2, watch out, watch out.
Throwing supply beacon. Marking extraction point. East. Pelican 1 preparing to depart. Shuttle launch in 20 seconds.
Reinforcement budget completed.
Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
This city will soon be a shining beacon of freedom once more.
Welcome aboard, Helldiver.
Allied destroyer has left squadron.
A victory for democracy.
Your fellow Helldivers managed against the enemy's tyranny.
Let's play.
No.
Mission coordinates locked. Hellpods prime. Engaging orbital thrusters.
What about here?
Orbit synchronized.
Well, right here.
What about here?
Exactly, exactly.
Launch initiated.
Very soon, possibly as soon as we get the new technology a little further into it. The devs have clearly hinted at a new wild type variant, and it's going to happen soon. It's just a matter of time. This new wild type variant can it fly? Can it, I don't know, jump? I have a feeling it's going to be able to jump. Mark my words, this wild type
Pry
is going
this
to jump.
city
I
from
don't
the
think
enemy's
it can fly,
grasp.
but I certainly believe it's going to jump and be able to launch itself further towards us. So we'll see what happens. I'd like to know your theories on the
Calling down
comments.
Calling down a
What
sentry.
do you think this new wild type variant is going to do?
Calling
Anyway,
down
as for the
fortifications.
galactic map, Akbar is currently under attack, and if we lose
Requesting
this planet,
sentry.
the
Follow me.
Terminids will make a
Requesting
beeline
sentry.
straight for Turin, which is certainly not a favorable outcome for us Helldivers. We must protect the engineers and
Get over
scientists.
here.
Tagging location.
The
Follow
only
me.
problem right now is that the invasion level is incredibly high. How high, you ask? Well, it's a whopping level 50 invasion. Super and first
Calling down
battle,
supplies.
not only is it a level 50 invasion, but the sports ring is also present on the stage. I believe the best course of action is to liberate the trucks, since it's supplied Akbar, and by liberating the trucks,
Their lives were in our hands.
you don't know if this is
Calling down a
and
sentry.
stop an attack by liberating the plant supplying the target. So, with that said, do I think this is going to happen? Do I think Helldivers are going to pull a Gambit? No.
Sending out an SOS.
Besides a select few will head over to the trucks. I predict
For
that
prosperity!
Helldivers will defend Akbar, and we'll end up losing the planet to the bugs. From there, the
Sentry,
will attack
northwest.
Earth.
Yeah, don't go there.
That's going to be the outcome. Let's put that conversation aside for another day. Now, I'd like to bring up a cool trick you can pull off in the Super Destroyer that some of you might not be aware of. There's a way to play with the Strategy Ball on the desk and knock it over. Here's what you do. Spawn inside the Super Destroyer, turn around, and head towards the ship technician side. You'll see a bunch of items on the table there. Next, open up the dispatch menu. You do, your arm will lift up, and you'll want to rinse and repeat this. And
Tony's
move it
got
back
a
and
good
forth
joke.
until you eventually knock over the Strategy Ball, which can then be kicked around. Not only that, but some of the other items can also
Supplies.
be used. This trick is awesome and
I'll take
very
it.
cool, and you can play Stratagem Soccer with your fellow Helldivers on the Super Destroyer. Speaking of tricks, there's an amazing trick to fire a black hole at enemies by using the Class 45 Epoch and the new Lift 182 Warpack strategy. To pull it off, you'll need to equip the Warpack and fire one round from the Epoch. After that, reload and activate
Requesting
the
sentry.
Warpack at the same time. What what you'll see is the
Sentry,
black hole
north.
launches
Don't get
forward
lasered
towards
by
the
a sentry.
hills. You can do this as many times as you like, and you will have the option to reload. This is a neat trick, and it
Calling
makes you
down.
want a new type of
Throwing down
black
another
hole
Tesla.
rocket launcher, or even something
Calling down fortifications.
like that would be insane.
Requesting sentry.
I'd like to give a shout out and credit to Jackson 101 for discovering this cool trick we can do with this new strategy. Moving along, we've got some unrelated Helldivers 2 news. It appears Sony is going to see Dawn. This came about because a few months back, we know Tencent revealed that their previous called Light of the This whole entire situation
Calling down a
sort of
sentry.
Requesting sentry.
were allegedly copying the work. It's almost the same situation in a sense, except I think the Power World developers created a unique game. It wasn't really a knockoff at all.
Shut up.
There's a new article here from Eurogamer.
Freedom
that
from all the way
compares
back here.
the game. I will say right off the bat that you can clearly see that the main character from Horizon Zero Dawn on the left looks identical in a sense to the lady on the right, so it's not like they switched up anything here. Also, when it comes down to the mechanical beast, they're somewhat, if not very identical to each other. It's a strange situation, and I don't think that the Tencent situation is similar to the Power World situation by any means. The Power World did their own thing, while this game looks almost exactly the same as Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a very odd situation, and I'd like to know what you think about it in the comments. Lastly, for today's video, we're going to wrap up the video by going over the top 3 comments. This Helldiver right here talked about how winning the Major Warrior was a miracle, and I have to agree. If it wasn't for the developers reducing the Leviathan
Follow me.
eliminations and the recent exploits for taking out multiple Leviathans, I don't think we would have won.
Hold
The
position.
second top comment is by S.W.Frost Ninja Strike that brought up 5 different
Reinforcing.
planet maps, biomes, like such as volcanic
Friendly fire,
planet,
friendly fire,
place,
watch it.
Dark Moon, Rapid
Requesting sentry.
City. Out of those 5 options, I think they're all great. But I'd
Calling
like to
down.
see the Gravity Ripple, something where we can actually float and people differently. Gravity, like the float rocks, that's a great idea.
Requesting
And the
fortification.
overgrown city is definitely another one. I'm thinking more
Requesting
like
sentry.
The Last of Us 2, you know, how the cities were all different with the green shrubs and everything. It would be incredible to see that. The third and final top comments by Paternal Salt that
machine
talked
gun
about
turret
how we should
bug?
receive the minigun from
Calling down a
completing the
sentry.
last new order. And I don't think it can happen. Just to be honest with you, I know the developers have talked about it, but we haven't heard anything from them in a while.
Shit.
So who knows what's going on there. It would be cool to receive that, but I doubt it's going to happen. So with the top 3 comments out of the way, I hope you have
That's some
enjoyed the
mindful
video.
for
If you
you.
have, consider tapping the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you haven't already. I appreciate all the support, and thank you, you guys. I wouldn't be able to do this without your support, so thank you to everyone from subs, members, and the lurkers. I appreciate everything that you guys
Calling
do.
down a sentry.
Calling down fortifications.
Tevfik hand style. Welcome to my channel.
Throwing supply beacon.
Best viewers on streamambu.com. Remove the space TFCTM.
Marking location. Never mind. Supplies. Thank you.
Thanks.
Requesting sentry.
That's about right.
Calling down a sentry. Requesting sentry.
like laser turrets explode upon themselves, not by even shooting.
Requesting fortification.
Requesting sentry. Fog tunnel breach. Sentry.
There is one
Northeast.
laser.
Sentry.
The
Calling
second
down a
one.
sentry.
And that one exploded!
Tagging
Look,
location.
exploded!
Northeast. Cancel
How
that.
the fuck? Hello, good! I want my laser turrets. It despawned. Fucking despawned.
Thank you.
Thanks for spoilers.
Taste of freedom.
Affirmative. Requesting fortification.
I see, okay. Only one man brought a gun and you're all stealing it.
Affirmative.
Requesting fortification.
Calling down a sentry. Calling down.
Deploying equipment package.
Last reload. Supplies.
Yeah, Mr. Z, wait. And for
Get some. Get some. Support weapon.
Mission at 10 minutes remaining.
Support weapon. Regan.
Sending down sentry.
Requesting sentry. Support weapon. Calling down a sentry. Calling down a sentry.
Calling down a sentry. Calling down fortifications. Calling down fortifications.
Requesting sentry.
Fog tunnel breach.
Calling down a sentry. Calling down a sentry.
Requesting fortifications. Requesting sentry.
Our citizens depend
yeah,
on
I
you
think
for their
they
safety.
ran through the minefield, sadly.
Requesting fortifications.
Get that thing inside.
Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
You will forever be remembered as heroes of this metropolis.
Allied destroyer has left squadron.
Down there. Could always use more samples, of course.
Thank you. Emperor protects.
I love The Truman Show. It's my favorite film. Of all the movies I've watched, I've seen The Truman Show the most times.
Alright, well, I didn't really want to make this video, but a few months ago I made a video about the Killing Floor 3 beta, which I didn't really like, as you can see from this thumbnail and title, and it seemed like a lot of other people didn't really like it either, because the game got delayed for 4 months after the very mixed reception to that same beta. So I guess out of morbid curiosity and just one final hope, I decided to check out the full release of Killing Floor 3 to see if things have changed, and see if this game is good. No. I mean, it's slightly better than what it was, but it's more or less the same game I played 4 months ago. And that's to be expected. No major changes to how the game was going to work was going to happen in that short amount of time. Look, I'm going to TLDR my last video in case you didn't watch it. Characters being tied to certain perks, or now how they're called specialists, sucks. Executions are weird and terribly animated. Performance wasn't great. The atmosphere of the game is weird. Gun variety is small, although upgrading and tweaking them via the loadout system is kind of okay. Visual clutter is a problem. Movement felt unnatural, especially when it came to sprinting and dodging. On the more positive side, some of the monster redesigns are really cool, especially the Siren, and the way the upgrade perk system works is actually really good. So, has any of that changed? Well, I think the game is a little bit less glitchy and movement feels a little better, I think. Although sliding feels almost useless and still doesn't feel like it fits in the game. And other players' movement, especially during Z time, looks very wonky. Okay, so I'm going to be upfront with you all. This is not a really awful game, but it is a bad Killing Floor game, if that makes sense. Because apart from the Z time and the designs of the monsters in the game, this is almost indistinguishable from any other mid-board-based co-op shooter. Killing Floor 3 doesn't feel like an evolution of the Killing Floor formula. Apart from the perk upgrade system, it doesn't really do anything better that Killing Floor 2 did 9 or so years ago. In fact, most of it feels like a backslide in quality, and the things it does differently, like the specialist abilities, feels like it's stripping away the identity of what makes people like the series of games. I found myself thinking as I was playing this game for the review, like what could Tripwire have done to actually make Killing Floor 3 feel like an evolution? Because apart from the obscene monetization scheme and those stupid robots that they added, Killing Floor 2 is an extremely well-designed game. There isn't much that I could pick that you know, could actually improve design-wise to warrant putting in the effort to actually making a sequel. Yeah, you could put a new coat of paint on it and update the gore system. And like I mentioned a few times, the perk upgrade system actually does feel like an improvement. But apart from that, what can you do? Like if we had a best case scenario here, would Killing Floor 3 even be that much of an improvement at the end of the day? Look, I'm not defending Tripwire here because at the end of the day, they decided to make this game and they made a lot of not very good design choices while they were at it. But, you know, what were the fans of the series expecting from Killing Floor 3? I mean, we all know it wasn't this, but if you are a fan, like, what were you expecting from Killing Floor 3? So Killing Floor 3 begins with one of the most aggressively stupid tutorials I've played in a long while, and it's unskippable. It's only useful for if somehow Killing Floor 3 was the first FPS game that you've ever played. Look, everyone who has played Killing Floor already knows how all of this works, and if you've played an FPS before, you'd probably pick everything up you need to know about the game quicker by just playing the game rather than learning it from this tutorial. Like, I know there are some colossally stupid people out there, but do you really need to teach them how to aim down sights? One of the few additions to the game is the hub room, which I talked about in my last video. It feels unnecessary. The only really good addition this hub room brings is the ability to test out weapons in the firing range, which does help because this game does have weapon modifying and loadout system, which we will get to. But other than that, the whole hub room feels unnecessary. To make this work, there needs to be something more. You know, it makes me think about Space Marine 2, which is a game that has a similar hub world to this, but that game has an incredible amount of detail to take in from its world that you forget that it could have all just been a menu. Luckily, Killing Floor 3 lets you navigate pretty much everything from the menus, so all of this can almost be completely ignored. Almost, because every time you want to start a match, you have to run over to this VTOL every time, which is just ridiculous. Just let it be a menu. Like, come on. But while we're on the topic of menus, let's look at something that wasn't actually featured properly in the beta, and that is monetization. Killing Floor 3 features both a FOMO cash shop as well as a battle pass system, which while the battle pass does give some free items, you do need to purchase a premium pass to be able to get everything and most of the quote-unquote good stuff. On the free tiers, you are mostly getting stickers for your guns as well as one alternate outfit for each character. And yeah, cosmetics are tied to the specialist, which is just a way to split up outfits for characters in the FOMO store and stretch out design ideas. Why make one unlock for all characters when you can make 6 individual unlocks? In theory, you should 6 times your money if someone wants that one outfit on all 6 of the characters. For buying the game, you get the bare minimum here. You don't get access to the premium tiers of the battle pass, you don't really get much free currency. The game feels stingy in its monetization, especially as a premium title that you have to buy. And I absolutely despise that a game as shallow on content as this is already trying to ask for more money. So when it comes to gameplay, I don't have that much to add in terms of what I touched on my last video, but at least this time the matchmaking works and I can find other people pretty reliably, although I'm not a fan of the game dropping me into already half-finished matches. In other Killing Floor games this isn't so much of a problem because games went on for much longer, but games in Killing Floor 3 only go for around 20 minutes on normal and 30 minutes on hard, so joining halfway doesn't really feel long enough to get yourself immersed in the game. And honestly, even with the full-length matches, they do just feel a little bit too short overall. And yeah, this game doesn't yet feature the ability to choose game length, so it's all just the standard 5 waves plus the boss wave, which feels too short. The gunplay in general is pretty smooth, and it does feel like maybe some of the weapons have been punched up a little bit since the beta. I gave all of the perks a go, and I found myself enjoying Pyro and Berserker the most, which, funnily enough, are my 2 least favorite perks from the other games. Each perk is locked to having a maximum of 2 primary weapons and 1 sidearm, and each perk only has a choice of 4 weapons in total, although there is a loadout system that lets you spec out those weapons to your liking. Although unlocking attachments for your weapons are done via a kind of grindy part collection system, which I don't mind so much because it is a form of progression to work towards and doesn't feel, nearly as grindy as anything the other games have had. The problem with this system is that it doesn't really make up for the lack of weapon variety in this game. There is nowhere near as much freedom to express yourself via gameplay and loadouts in Killing Floor 3. And although that maybe will change over time as developers add more guns to the game, if there were as many guns in this game as there were the other two Killing Floor games, then this system might feel more robust, but at the moment it feels very bare-boned. Made all the more bare-bones by the fact that the weight system from the other games has been thrown out for the more simple two-weapon primary loadout, which, is very disappointing. Perks now have an ultimate ability, which I don't hate the idea of in theory, but in practice they all look extremely goofy. Like I mentioned earlier, the perk upgrade system is much more robust than it has been in other games. Every 2 levels or so you get a choice between 2 or 3 perk choices. That also can be upgraded to 3 or so tiers on top of it, so those choices could be made stronger. This is probably the only thing that I can point to where Killing Floor 3 actually improves as a sequel. I like it. It's quicker to unlock things and it feels much more varied than the other games. Again, it's just kind of a disappointment that it's tied to this game. Somehow this game launched without text chat. That's weird, but there is a design decision that actually made me mad, and that is the leaderboard. The leaderboard is not translucent and it stops your character from moving if you dare to look at it. Are you fucking kidding me? This is an insane design decision, considering Killing Floor 2 had this over a decade ago. Being able to move while you look at the leaderboard. Like, why can't I do this? Killing Floor 3, why are you like this? Alright, so let's talk about the art style and performance, which kind of go hand in hand here. This game runs pretty poorly. Frame drops, mini freezes are pretty common, especially as the game gets more hectic. Turning off Lumen, which is a option that is on by default, is a good way to mitigate some of the performance issues. I also had to turn the graphics down to medium just so I could keep a consistent frame rate when shit hit the fan. The problem is this game doesn't even really look that good. Even at max settings, there isn't anything that makes me think, yeah, I know why I'm getting performance issues here, but no, the game doesn't, look that good, and it doesn't run good, which leads to the art style and kind of the atmosphere of the game. Killing Floor 3 absolutely feels the weakest in terms of atmosphere. Killing Floor 1 had a very grindhousey horror atmosphere, while Killing Floor 2 had a sci-fi B-movie slasher vibe. Killing Floor 3 is just straight up sci-fi, and I don't really like it. From the gun designs to the character designs and their kits and gadgets, I feel like they've overdone it. While at the same time, there isn't really a strong sense of style here. It just feels like generic future shit. Although the music tries its hardest to establish that Killing Floor style, it isn't enough. The music this time around, instead of being a compilation of metal music from a variety of artists, seems to be an actual soundtrack this time around, which I think people will dislike this change, but for me, I actually enjoyed the music in this game. The main menu track in particular is an absolute banger, but it's not enough to tie the atmosphere of the game together, unfortunately. But I don't blame the music for trying. It's doing its job, it's just the rest of the game that is slacking. In conclusion, do I recommend you buy Killing Floor 3? No. Not at all. Look, even if we ignore the fact that this feels like an inferior product to the previous entries in this series and treat it as just, another random horde shooter, I still wouldn't recommend it in its current state. There is too much wrong with this game, and the asking price is too high for what they're currently delivering. The performance issues on PC are shocking. There is a strong lack of visual clarity within the game. The game's atmosphere feels bland and the characters are so annoying. But it's the lack of getting basic design decisions correct that absolutely baffles me. A leaderboard that is difficult to quickly check because you can't see the game and it stops your character from moving and putting you in danger. Needing to make your way to the VTOL in the hub world anytime you want to start a game. Having the matchmaking drop you into a game halfway done and no option to change any of those settings of how you get match made. A lack of weapon variety or any way to express your playstyle that has any depth other than the perk system. But if we add back onto the fact that this is meant to be a sequel to one of the most solidly made co-op horde shooters, and that there were 10 years to take the learnings of that game to try and make something better, then it has well and truly missed the mark. If you're looking for a solid co-op horde experience, then may I recommend Helldivers 2, which is the exact same price as this game, or Killing Floor 2, which is $20 cheaper and has thrice the amount of content of this game, and a pretty decent custom map modding scene that adds on top of that. Look, I don't think Killing Floor 3 is a lost cause. I think that if Tripwire work on this game and work on it hard for at least a year, then I think eventually it'll be a game worth playing here, but not now, not in its current state. So there is a 1-year roadmap for future content of this game, and they are planning on eventually unlinking specialists with perks, which should never have been a thing from the start, new weapons and mods, which should have already been a thing from the start. God, does this feel like I'm looking at an early access game, but it isn't. Not that it's much of an excuse. This little ongoing improvements bit at the bottom sure looks like it includes a bunch of things that should have been in a fully launched 1.0 title. That is all I have to say on Killing Floor 3. I did not enjoy making this video. I would have rather made a video about a good game, but the state of this game kind of hurt too much. So thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, then please leave it a like and consider subscribing if you're new. Hopefully whatever video I make next will be on an actual good game this time. You know, I'd rather be lifting games up that deserve it rather than bringing them down. Look, if you have played Killing Floor 3, then let me know what you think of the game in the comments. Many thanks to my YouTube members Controlled Killer, Yellow, Melodia, and Jingles, you absolute legends. If you think my content is worth supporting financially, you can do that by a YouTube membership. Perks are on the screen. I also have a free to enter Discord as well as the Steam curator page. If you want to join any of those, links are also in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all next time.
Remember how this year was the year where behavior delayed a content release in order to focus on the player experience? That Operation Health patch is not even fully done yet, and we already need another one, because this last patch of The Walking Dead is not it, unless you are a fan of chases not starting at all, which is an absolutely game-breaking bug that can happen in every single match, making it impossible for killers to start a chase until they injure a survivor, which, funnily enough, gives them enough distance to end the chase after that. If you are new and don't understand how game-breaking this bug is, let me tell you, all killers will not be able to receive the bloodlust effect, which is needed for some of the weakest characters in the game, because otherwise it's impossible to outplay some loops due to the map's design. Well, if you are playing Myers or the Trapper, bad luck. Just go play someone like Blight or Nurse, which do not need Bloodlust at all, or equip Rapid Brutality to compensate. And another issue of chases not starting is that it prevents the entity blocker from happening, which is when vaults become blocked after a survivor fast vaults them 3 times in a chase. Since there is no chase, that literally means infinites are back in the game unless you have a killer that has anti-loop or you run Bamboozle. Forcing the entity blockage is not possible anymore, making places like the Shack much stronger. Nice outplay. Holy shit. Oh, she has the last standing perk. Okay. Okay. Oh, I like the animation so much. Oh, short king. Let's go. And on top of all of that, Pig can abuse this glitch in order to chase survivors with a head trap, and there is nothing you can do as that player. Maybe this was a good patch for some veterans, as they brought mechanics from old DVD like Infinites and Moonwalking Legion. Now let's talk
Jennifer
about sound
Billard.
design, because
Welcome to
something
my
that they
channel.
also fumbled in this patch.
Hello,
For
Jennifer,
some
what's
reason,
up?
a lot of the sounds in
Welcome.
the game are currently bugged, like various killer powers only being played on the left side of your headphones, like with Vecna and Xenomorph, as well as having the legendary cosmetic of Rick Grimes be broken, as sometimes you will hear Daryl Dixon scream in your ear globally and very loudly. How these bugs happen, I have no idea whatsoever. Additionally, now you can instantly make your character silent just by crouching, so they no longer breathe hard after running. making stealth plays even easier. I guess that's a way to nerf the spirit, as if the fog vials weren't enough. Talking about sound design, let's talk about the voices for the new survivors in the game. To be fair, the voice lines they added for the Walking Dead survivors are really cool, and I love how they interact with each other in game.
We'll get through it. Together.
I wish more of this was in the game, as it adds so much personality. However, for some reason, outside of the voice lines, their grunts of pain sound different to the actors. Especially the ones from Michonne, who is not voiced by the actress, but that's not on behavior. While running, she breathes as if she is injured, making her one of the loudest survivors in the game, which is crazy when the other competitors are a massive hunk of a bear and a literal old man that smokes inside their realm. To make things worse, if you dare play Michonne against a killer that can make you vomit, for example Nemesis or Plague, she has by far the worst sounds as of now. This is something their developers know about. It's obvious that this is wrong, yet for some reason, they still shipped the update with this Michonne. Now let's talk about the new items introduced in the game, and this might be a hot take by my part. The only personal issue I have is how they didn't fix a visual bug that was present in the PTB, because the fog vials are still being held wrong by some survivors, and one of them is literally Rick Grimes, the new survivor from this patch. How this stuff is still broken is incredible for me, as it seems like a very easy fix that helps the quality of the game instead of making it look like a cheap knockoff. In terms of gameplay, I honestly think that outside of accessibility issues, which one of them got fixed with the live release, the majority of complaints to this item done by the killers is a major exaggeration. These items don't work most of the time. They require specific builds to be good, and the medkit or Gen Rush toolbox clears them any day. The little matches I played as killers, I didn't find them to be problematic. Maybe with time survivors learn how to use this item, but in that case, it's too early to want a nerf to them when I would much rather have the syringes nerfed first. The only thing I can see being an issue is so this item has infinite charges, so you can spam it in the game after a short cooldown. But honestly, I like the fact that the new item is not absolute trash, which was a problem that DBD had for ages, where nobody used other items because there was no point. So the fog vials being something that ends up being part of the game is a feature I like, but maybe it's my survivor bias talking, since I have been playing killer less and less. And also, I don't want to discredit anyone that doesn't like this item, it's just my personal opinion. They do make Singularity's power not work, so they are by far the strongest against him. Whether that is intended gameplay mechanics or a glitch is something I don't know, because this patch is just overall broken. The glitch that proves to me how the devs didn't take care in this chapter release at all is the random poll you can find in the offering screen. Something you can, and I am not exaggerating, find glitch just by playing the game with an offering. And that's all because the devs misplaced a signpost in the lobby screen, and it coincides with the coordinates where we get teleported for the offerings. The fact that this is in the game proves just how little care they did for this patch release, and gives it a very bad first impression. It's not a game-breaking bug like the chase bug is, and in another universe where DBD was in a good state, I would have laughed about it and moved on. We are not in that universe, sadly, despite being in the middle of an Operation Health, which is aimed at making the player experience better. And let's say you are happy with this patch and want to try out your favorite new survivors from the show you enjoy. Well, there is also a problem currently where it doesn't allow you to create a lobby as a survivor or for a custom match, which is very annoying, especially recently as I play Survivor much more. Imagine being a streamer doing open lobbies, where a new player trying to play, and you constantly have to wait and wait in order to play the game you paid for. Now, overall, you might think that I am a negative Nancy and heavily exaggerating the impact of the bugs in this patch just to get easy views from negativity bias, but that's far from the truth. What happened is that this patch was my personal breaking point in terms of stuff I can tolerate playing the game, because all of the bugs I mentioned are added on top of already pre-existing bugs that were already a problem way back with the Houndmaster's release. To give you a perspective on how bad the situation is, Houndmaster is still a glitchy mess that has her dogs sometimes just not work, making me lose entire matches because of it. And remember that add-on they said they will balance soon, way back in December. It's still the exact same trash and there is nothing that they have said about it. Dracula still has a lot of bugs that happened around the Aurora patch and he still feels clunky to play. Xenomorph not only has the audio bug, he can also sometimes see palette auras like Freddy does during a match, which was already there in the anniversary event. Vecna, outside of the audio bug, still grabs survivors at 10 FPS when he finds them in a locker, granting me the motion sickness status effect. Kaneki still has an insane amount of glitches, making him significantly clunkier to play compared to when he first released, with the Kagunes sometimes just glitching randomly, not even mentioning the kidnap tech. The Knight, a killer that was buffed recently, still has the exact same glitches he has had for months, which is crazy considering this killer is 2 years old already. Nemesis, Deathsinger and Springtrap still have the issue of their animations not matching what they are doing while aiming their powers. The Legion sometimes just doesn't work, not revealing the survivors nearby with Killer Instinct. And Spirit now has completely broken animations, which was an already present bug in the PTB, but it was not fixed. Perhaps the one that pisses me off the most is how the survivor spawns, which was supposed to be a buff from the last patch to compensate for the buffs survivors got as part of the Operation Health update, is still broken, and I sometimes spawn separate from everyone even with no shroud offerings. Here is evidence that I am not lying. As you can see, the survivors spawned in pairs, separate from each other like it was before, and this is something I complained of in my debate with Scott John. And these bugs are just the ones that I am aware of thanks to the community. I am sure there are significantly more bugs that I forgot about that have been there since Aurela's release. I am sure Wesker, Huntress and Chucky still have some kind of bugs too, considering they were glitched for months. And if that all was not enough, as someone that is a heavy enjoyer of the cosmetics of this game, the game's cosmetics are also glitched, including some from the new Rift, which is overall kinda mid compared to the previous ones. Tori Kane, for some reason, has a completely different head color in her blue Gravity colors, and some players actually prefer it. The issue is that I had this head to combine with this outfit that I made, which I found to be insanely cool because each piece combined with each other, and now in game, this looks like trash compared to before, and I literally paid money because of how this cosmetic combo looked before the patch, so I feel as if I was scammed. Either make this head a different one, maybe part of the Rift, but keep the original how it was before. The Rift has a cosmetic piece which is identical to another one that is paid, which is the Raid's Valentine Day weapon, and this is part of the paid part of the Rift, so it feels even worse as a scam. For some reason, the new Walking Dead Survivor cosmetics are also purple rarity, when they are extremely underwhelming. Rick, for example, has purple rarity pants that are exactly every color from the default ones down to the dirt texture they have, and even one of the pouches that are missing from the paid one still has that dark spot used by the artist to create a fake shadow. I didn't complain about this back in the PTV because they've said that the pants were identical due to a glitch. Well, apparently, the fix they did is to open Photoshop and increase the brightness slightly. Michonne's bandana cosmetic is also underwhelming, as it's just a blue one, and even the Prestige looks cooler and it's free. But I get that this might be some limitations from the license holders. The thing is, why not make them blue rarity due to how underwhelming the changes are? They did this with Lara Croft, where they sell blue rarity skins and even one with a piece missing. So the only logical conclusion I can come up with is greed, trying to farm the money of Walking Dead fans with underwhelming skins. And I mentioned the Rift, so let's talk about it. I think out of the last three, this is the weakest one by far, as the only skins I actually really enjoy are the Knight and Michaela Reed, but I still have some issues with it. Why is Elodie not the survivor getting a charm and the banner like Hadi and Jane did, and instead it's Michaela and Felix the ones getting it? In fact, why is this cosmetic from Elodie ascended in the first place? In my stream, my viewers told me that it's because of the smoke coming out on her boots, but really that's it? Especially when compared to Hadi or Yui's ascended level cosmetics, even Jane had something unique about it, and I thought it was underwhelming. And yet, it's Michaela the survivor that gets the best cosmetics, along with a banner that is animated and an emblem, and Felix gets a charm, not Elodie, who is supposed to be the star of this rift. And finally, the reason why I am so negative about this patch is that it also made the game worse in a balanced sense. For starters, Clown is now brain dead and not fun to play compared to the old version. Whether he's stronger or nerfed is something I am still debating, but he does feel much easier to play with. They didn't revert the yellow bottle changes, and now they almost instantly pop. During my stream games, I even misplayed some of the yellow bottles and still got the effect for free, which is the point where I understood how bad the new Clown is for the health of the game, as this would not happen previously. And I get it! There's no way, bro. I misplayed with a yellow bottle and I still get it. And if you know me, you already know that I made 2 videos talking about how DBD is overall harder now, which is my subjective opinion that many in the community agree with. Well, now with Franklin's demise being gutted, the only answer to the killing meta, the game will feel even worse once survivors stop with the novelty of the new perks and they return back to their busted Vigil loadouts. At this point, I want to play Survivor, as I just find it much more fun compared to Killer, which is currently very stressful. The worst part is that I had high hopes for this patch, as I want the game to be fun to play again, but each patch just makes the game worse and worse. I literally took a 2-week vacation recently, which is why my uploads halted, and during that trip, I was very eager to play the game and stream it. But the experience I had with this release was not fun for the most part, outside of some matches, and my drive to make content is also gone, as I just don't want to continue playing and recording the game in this state, and even less stream it. Please, behavior, delay whatever content you had planned, and fix the game.
Hey, Exiles. We just received a tiny teaser about the future of Path of Exile 2 in 030 from Darth Microtransactions' trip to Grinding Gear Games HQ all the way in New Zealand. Now, DM said that we shouldn't expect any major spoilers from this, but then on the very first day he's back in Alaska, he drops an absolute bomb of a clip from an interview with the music goat himself, Camille Orman Janowski. As always, I will have all of my sources in the description below. But in this clip, Camille describes the music for the boss fights coming in 0.3. First of all, plural, boss fights. And second, the key term he uses to describe these boss battles is tribal. Oh, I have the book right here. And for those of you who don't know, the theme of Act 4 of Path of Exile 2 is tribal. Yes, thanks to not only this art book right here, but all of the showcases during ExileCon 2023, multiple years ago now, we know that Act 4 has us journeying to an archipelago, the Karui archipelago, and we will be hopping from island to island, going to many different biomes and interacting with multiple tribes of Karui. So what do we know? We know that 030 is supposed to be far larger than 0.2. We know that Grinding Gear Games needs to impress the player base after what was the most disastrous patch of all time by Grinding Gear Games with 0.2. This was described as that by Jonathan Rogers himself, one of the co-founders of Grinding Gear Games. And we know it has multiple boss fights, and the boss fights are described as tribal. So honestly, we have 3 different outcomes here that I'd like to lay out for you. First, we get Act 4, which would be awesome. If we were to receive a new act, all of the boss fights would trickle down into the end game as well. We'd get new base types, we'd likely get some new skills, we'd get new unique items, we'd just get new biomes, and as we talked about, lots of new monsters. And that's all lovely. And if we get Act 4, we would also get a new Trial of Ascension, the Trial of the Ancestors, which we also saw a preview of in Path of Exile 1 3.22 Trial of the Ancestors. There was a world in which we might get that Trial of Ascension and not get Act 4, and maybe that's what they're hinting at here. We get new boss fights fighting the Karui chieftains. In the Trial of the Ancestors, we get a new Trial of Ascension, but we don't get Act 4. I'm trying to keep my expectations at a mediocre level, but let's just say it's a possibility. Now, I did say there could be 3 possible outcomes, because what else is a little bit tribalistic, if you think about it? Druid is a little bit tribal, right? But let's not get too crazy here. I don't want to think that we're gonna get Druid. In a phenomenally perfect world, I think getting Act 4 and the Druid alongside the Trial of the Ancestors would be a pretty banger update. At a minimum, I'm expecting a few Ascendancy classes, lots of tweaks to existing skills, in the passive tree and Ascendancies, and perhaps a new endgame mechanic, adding a new pinnacle boss to the game. That's the bare minimum. But what could be coming with 030? In this video, beyond this initial newsy section, I thought it would be cool to lay out everything we know about Act 4 in Path of Exile 2 from ExileCon 2023 and all the previews since then, maybe even with a little bit of help from this art book, and lay it all out so if Act 4 does come in 030, we'll be able to compare what it looked like 2 years ago to what it actually ended up like in the live game. Afterward, we can also look at the Trial of the Ancestors and how that played out in Path of Exile 1 to know what we could expect for the next Trial of Ascension in Path of Exile 2. I know it's been a while, Exiles, but make sure if you end up liking this video to hit the like button, and if you'd like some more Path of Exile 2 content, to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all of your support. Even during this lull in Path of Exile 2 content, when I also had some illness issues, unfortunately, I've been spending a ton of time with my kids. It's summer here where I live, but it all ended up working out because there was a bit of a break for Path of Exile 2, since I'm no longer playing Path of Exile 1. Anyways, let's dive right in. Let's begin with the town for Act 4, which is Kingsmarch, a town we built in Path of Exile 1 during 3.25 Settlers of Kalgur, the longest lead ever in Path of Exile history. We obviously arrived here not in pursuit of the beast, but in pursuit of a weapon of great power, an artifact we can use to defeat the beast, alongside the Hooded One and the Expedition crew. For the Expedition crew has made Kingsmarch their home. They are Kalgurans, a culture of race class that we have very little interaction with outside of them, but do not believe in gods and instead worship the stars and ingest their star power to embolden their weapons and armor and bodies using runes. Now that I think about it, are runes in Path of Exile 2, stuff we insert in our weapons and armor, actually Kalgur runes? I don't actually know. I wonder if there's someone I could talk to about the lore behind it. Now, from this town, we venture to a variety of islands in the Karui archipelago. And like I said before, we've seen previews, actual gameplay of these islands, their boss fights, their monsters, in various gameplay snippets from the past, whether at ExileCon 2023 or at Gamescom later that year when the Druid was first showcased. Now, Grinding Your Games gets to do something very interesting with Act 4. Due to the fact it being a whole bunch of different islands bundled together, they can throw in a wide variety of terrain types, monster types, and just go wild with it. I presume we'll venture to all these islands in search of the weapon or the people who wield them, and at one point we will venture to the Karui Halls of the Dead and actually interact with some of the greatest chieftains of the past. And that's likely where we'll also interact with the Trial of the Ancestors mechanic. But before we talk about that, let's sprinkle a little bit of the islands into this video. We have an island of goblins that leads into a volcano. The two boss fights here are the Blind Beast, which is a vicious colossus-like creature that is egged on by hundreds of goblins in a coliseum. Looks absolutely awesome. Then as we move from that section, we go into a grand volcano, and at its center, in the belly, is a literal giant we fight. And cool fact, you can actually roll between his legs. In this giant fight as well, you interact with Sulfite as a mechanic. The giant eats the Sulfite and spits it out at you. A little nod back to Path of Exile 1's Delve League mechanic. Maybe we'll try to tie in Delve a little bit into Act 4. Moving on from the Goblin Island, we go to the Giant Bird Nest Island, I guess what I'll call it, wherein there's a bunch of rare creatures, seemingly, and it ends with a big boss fight against a monster that's actually already in Path of Exile 2, a huge bird that you can fight in the Trial of Chaos. Mark mentioned that the Trial of Chaos had one placeholder boss. I think that's the placeholder boss, and they're going to replace that maybe with this update if Act 4 is coming. Another island we can venture to is Izzaro's Prison. People who have played Path of Exile 1 know exactly who Izzaro is. He's the dude in the Lord's Labyrinth who you fight to get your ascension, and here there is a prison dedicated not to him, but a creature that he sought to keep within. You fight this creature at the end of the prison. He's called the Prisoner, and he has what seems to be an absolutely wild series of boss mechanics.
And a lot of levers needed to pull to access him.
There's also an island of singing caverns with a completely redone Merveil fight from Path of Exile 1. Basically a Merveil with unlimited budget, which is totally what Grinding Gear Games has right now. I must say, this Merveil fight, this Siren fight, looks absolutely ridiculous, especially with the petrification mechanic. We then have an island with a bunch of shipwrecks on it that is actually already in Path of Exile 2, even with its boss fight. It's one of the new end-game unique maps that was added to the game, the one that drops millions of gold. Well, that fight is also in Act 4, and actually where you're supposed to unlock the Delirium mechanic. So it'll be interesting to see if that's still how it works, if we'll start encountering Delirium in the Act maps after we fight the boss in this area. Oh, and touching on a little mechanic that they detailed in 2023, you can choose which order of islands you travel to in this act, and once you clear the boss of that island or complete the objective, all the other islands will increase in monster level and become more difficult. This will be really interesting to see what order people go in. It's already interesting to see what order people go in Act 2. I bet speedrunners are going to find the best path through. I'm just going to go based on vibes, though. And the last area we know about in Act 4 from all the gameplay snippets is this place of Karui corruption. Actually, the very first look at the revamped, separate game Path of Exile 2 we saw all the way back in 2023, right around the time when I really started this channel. There's this corrupted Karui amalgamation that bursts through the wall. We see the dodge mechanic for the first time. We see all these monsters rushing at the sorceress. That was quite the moment. I can't wait to see how it actually plays out in-game. As for the storyline of Act 4, it's obvious that all the Karui are corrupted, seemingly by interacting with virtue gems, the stuff that we use to cast our skills. They get this strange sickness when interacting with them, and it appears this plague has spread across the land. And we're there to defeat them and interact with the still living, friendly Karui that still exist on the archipelago. The art book has unique art for each of the chieftains, but I don't actually think we're going to fight them in Act 4 itself. I think we're going to battle the chieftains in the Trial of the Ancestors, the next Ascension mechanic coming into the game. There is this guy, Yama the White, who I don't believe is a Karui, and I don't see him anywhere else in the game, so maybe he's an ally we discover there, or a big boss we end up fighting. There's also a goddess that is living there in the halls of the dead found in the Karui archipelago, and I think we'll be able to fight her at some point. Maybe she'll be the pinnacle version of the Trial of the Ancestors. I can't wait to give it a go. There's also this sick piece of art of a dragon, a wingless dragon of some sort, that I don't recall seeing in the Trial of the Ancestors at all. like I have seen with those turtles and other monsters. I'm really hoping that some sort of massive boss fight like the Chimera that we fight in Act 3 and the Trial of Chaos. As for the end boss of Act 4, no idea who that could be. I do know where we're going in Act 5 because I have the art book, but I won't give the spoiler in this video, don't you worry. And I know quite a bit about the Trial of the Ancestors, which if we do get Act 4 in 0.3, we will get the Trial of the Ancestors along with it. So let's talk a little bit about this next Trial of Ascension and what it looked like in Path of Exile 1. Essentially, it was an auto-battler. You would create a team of units, and that team would fight against an enemy team of units who also had a chieftain leading them. The goal, simply destroying all of the enemy team's totems before they destroy your totems. Each battle was in an arena that could be altered by special stationary units that would cause terrain effects or other debilitating effects on your enemies or just buff your allies. If you won a battle, you would progress to the next round of the tournament until you reach the tournament's conclusion in a bracket-style system. You could earn XP, receive special rewards, and enjoy a completely different style of game compared to the usual Path of Exile, which seemingly is what they're trying to do with the Trials of Ascension in Path of Exile 2 as well. So what am I really hoping to see in Path of Exile 2 with this trial? Given all the critiques and dislikes of the other two Trials of Ascension in PoE2, Trial of Chaos and the Trial of the Sakama, I hope this one is more brute force focused, where you can just go in, fight some powerful monsters, fight some bosses, and just push your way to the end. You don't need to deal with a bunch of extra gimmicks like you do in the Trial of the Sakama, and you don't have to deal with the RNG of the Trial of Chaos. And I'm not even really talking about the first time you encounter these. I think it's pretty easy in those regards now. I'm really talking about points 3 and points 4. Finishing out your Ascendancy is really tough for some people right now, given how the other trials play. So I really do hope that this one is more focused on just fight and nothing else. I hope the arena is not as static as it was in Path of Exile 1, and I hope all the monsters got that PoE 2 brush up. And I do hope it brings in a special reward mechanic like the other Trials of Ascension. Personally, I think that either the Unicore is locked in a changed up form from Path of Exile 1, which allows for a little bit of foresight in crafting, or the tattoo system from Path of Exile 1 would be pretty interesting. Again, updated to work alongside Path of Exile 2. Tattoos would be interesting, especially in PoE2, where you have the choice of which attribute you're picking on each of the attribute travel nodes, so grinding your games might need to do a little bit of work there. Okay, thinking on everything, I believe that's all we know about Act 4 and the Trial of the Ancestors. Coming soon to Path of Exile 2, hopefully. I know it'll be quite interesting to see how all these things have changed in the 2 years since we initially saw them. And my goodness, if we know anything about grinding your games, we know they changed quite a bit. I know it's been quite the dead period for Path of Exile 2 these past 4 months, and they're pushing this release August 29th to the absolute limit of the 4-month release cycle cadence. What are your thoughts on what might be upcoming? Do you think that this is likely to actually arrive? Do you think we're getting the Druid? Are you excited for this next patch? If so, leave a comment below and make sure if you like the video, give it a like. And if you'd like to see more PoE2 content, subscribe to the channel, my fellow exiles. As always, have fun and stay sane.
In my previous video, I celebrated what I consider to be the best change that Bloober made in its remake of Silent Hill 2. It was something that not only works very well on its own right in the new game, but it also changed my understanding of the original game, and has me rethinking some of my own long-standing opinions that I had about James's character. But not all of Bloober's creative liberties were for the better. In fact, I actually dislike most of Bloober's other creative changes. There was one change in particular that I hated so much that I almost stopped playing the game, and it's not something that I see a lot of people criticizing, so I wanted to take a few minutes to express my frustrations. No, it is not the bloated length of the game, at least not specifically, nor is it the meandering pace of the individual levels, or dungeons as some people are calling them, which is a fitting term considering how over-designed many of them are, nor is it the greater emphasis on action or those obnoxiously pervasive mannequin ambushes. All of those things are close runners-up, and some of them are closely linked to the topic of this video. Put simply, Bloober's game fell victim to one of the key flaws that all of us skeptics expected it to. It lacks the subtlety and the restraint of the original Silent Hill 2 developed by Konami's internal team Silent. The greater reliance on action mechanics, its bloated length, its overlong dungeons, and its constant reuse of gameplay gimmicks like mannequin ambushes, climbing, crawling, and breaking down walls with your melee weapon are all artifacts of Bloober's more ostentatious approach to the source material. In my opinion, this lack of restraint from Bloober is most apparent in its design of the Otherworld. The god-awful Otherworld of Silent Hill 2 Remake almost single-handedly ruins the entire game for me. A few years ago, I had made a video about the Lakeview Hotel in the original Silent Hill 2 and how it casts the nature of the game's Otherworld into doubt. That video explores the nature of Silent Hill 2's Otherworld in more detail, and I highly recommend that you watch it either before finishing this video or after. And, the Lakeview Hotel is at the end of the game, so obviously any discussion of it, either in the original game or the remake, is going to necessarily involve spoilers for both games. If you're concerned about spoilers, you should probably stop now, because the entire rest of this video is going to contain story and gameplay spoilers for both versions of Silent Hill 2, as well as some thematic and visual spoilers for Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 3, and maybe also some other games. Proceed at your own risk. When James first arrives at the pier of the Lakeview Hotel, he comments how it hasn't changed at all since he and Mary had visited 3 years ago. Upon going inside, he finds the building abandoned, but otherwise in a pristine condition. Far more pristine than any of the other environments that he's been into so far, and a far cry from the rusted and dilapidated state of all the other areas he has explored since arriving in town. Upon reaching room 312, watching the videotape, and confronting the harsh reality of Mary's fate, James finds the hotel changed. It is dirty, waterlogged, and falling apart. As he goes deeper and deeper, parts of it appear to be burned down as if the hotel had been on fire. Most early walkthroughs and strategy guides for the game referred to the damaged version of the hotel as the Otherworld, but I've argued in the past that this isn't the Otherworld at all. I've argued that the burnt down and waterlogged versions of the hotel is actually its true appearance, and that the pristine version that we find upon first arriving is actually the Otherworld. It is a version of the hotel that is manifested by James's memory and his subconscious, a version of the hotel that his deluded mind wants to find, a version of the hotel in which Mary is alive and waiting for him. After watching the videotape, his delusion comes crashing down and he is forced to confront reality, that the hotel is destroyed and his wife is dead. The biggest clue for this is the fact that in the prison, we can find a drawing of a building on fire. The building is not identified, but the boat dock is unmistakable. This building is the Lakeview Hotel. The implication is that the building burned down in a real-life fire, sometime between James and Mary visiting and the events of the game. Perhaps the prisoner in this cell was the arsonist, or perhaps, as I theorized in my older video, Angela was the arsonist, although the remake makes some changes to the hotel that make that far less likely. They removed all of the abstract daddies, which was one of the key points that I used to argue that Angela could have potentially been the arsonist. In fact, Masahiro Ito himself has recently corroborated the idea that the pristine hotel is the Otherworld on his social media accounts. But for 20 years, fans and game journalists have mistakenly referred to the damaged version of Lakeview as the Otherworld Hotel. This illustrates just how subtle and psychological Team Silent's depiction of the Otherworld is in Silent Hill 2. The fact that we can mistake any area of Silent Hill for its Otherworld counterpart and vice versa opens up the possibility that we might be mistaking all of the other worlds. Case in point, is the Blue Creek apartment in the original game an Otherworld? Or is it just another apartment building next door to the Woodside apartments? In the original game, the answer to this question isn't entirely clear. James crawls through a fire escape from the Woodside apartments into an adjacent building, so it is clearly another building. But is it also the Otherworld? Or is it just an abandoned and condemned apartment? The fact that we can't tell is part of what makes the environments of Silent Hill 2 so uncanny. The Otherworld isn't as clearly delineated as it is in the other original games. Pockets of each character's Otherworld seems to blend in and out of the environments, and sometimes they overlap in a variety of ways. And it isn't just the hotel and apartments either. The nighttime version of Silent Hill in the original game is also often called the Otherworld streets. But it could also just be the normal streets, shrouded in the dark of night. We enter a tunnel with a graded walkway, but this could be a temporary construction covering up a hole in the ground. The same holes that we observe in Silent Hill 1, and which also exist in Silent Hill 2, and which are usually blocked off, or fenced off, or covered in scaffolding. This could just be grading and scaffolding that was put up as part of a repair effort, or to allow access to homes and businesses. It does not have to be an Otherworld like the rusted metal grading walkways that we saw in the first Silent Hill. Even the hospital, which has a much more clear Otherworld in that we have to explore it twice, does not look as otherworldly as you might expect it to. Just like with the Blue Creek apartments, the hospital could just be an abandoned and condemned hospital, perhaps undergoing extensive repairs or renovations. Compared to rusted hellscapes that is the Alchemilla Hospital in the first Silent Hill, Brookhaven just looks like it's been covered in tarps and blankets, which is a common thing to do in an old condemned building in order to prevent stuff from getting dusty. We revisit Brookhaven Hospital again in Silent Hill 3 and see what a truly otherworldly version of this place could look like. And what we see in Silent Hill 2 is almost mundane in comparison. The prison is similarly uncanny. Is the prison an otherworld, or is it just what the prison actually looks like? Is there even a prison at all? I don't know. Do you? Perhaps the only clear-cut, surefire otherworld in all of Silent Hill 2, at least the original game, is the Labyrinth. Is the Labyrinth a real place? I mean, probably not, but who knows? Every other location in Silent Hill 2 just looks normal enough that it could be Otherworld, or it could just be abandoned and condemned. They all look convincing enough to be a real place, but are all just a little bit off. That's what makes them uncanny. Even in a replay of the game with full understanding of the game's twist ending, the player is constantly wondering whether what you are seeing is actually real, and it all reflects James's mental state at the time. That is a big part of the original game's tone, and it's something that makes the original game so unsettling and so replayable. That uncanny quality from the original game is almost entirely absent from the remake, at least with regard to the Otherworld. And it is, in my opinion, one of, if not the, saddest casualties of the remake. The Otherworld locations are clearly presented as Otherworld in the remake, with no possibility of confusing them for real places. The Otherworld environments in the remake have that metallic, rusted, and industrial quality more akin to the first and third games. This extends to the more ambiguous Otherworld locations from the original game, such as the Blue Creek apartments and the nighttime streets of Silent Hill. These environments might be appropriate if Bloober had been remaking the first or third Silent Hill games, but they are completely inappropriate for a remake of the second game. Heck, sometimes these Otherworld environments have environmental details that would still feel out of place or silly even in the first or third games. For example, the Otherworld Hospital in the remake has toilets that are perpetually overflowing with literal shit. It's as if Bloober remembered that one optional scene in the original game in which James sticks his hand down a clogged toilet, and they decided to make overflowing clogged toilets into a recurring motif for the entire hospital otherworld, even though the hand in the toilet bit was actually in the apartment and not in the hospital. Even in Silent Hill 3, which derives a lot of its horror and otherworldly aesthetic from bodily functions, the image of toilets perpetually overflowing with shit would have been a bit much.
Forget it. This is way too gross. Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?
Stuff like this just feels like a sophomoric attempt to disgust the player simply for the sake of disgust. It's almost as bad as Silent Hill Homecoming, opening with a scene that feels like it was pulled straight out of the movie Hostel. It's gross for the sake of being gross. The original game rarely, if ever, includes things simply for the purposes of grossing out the player. And the one time that James does stick his hand down a clogged toilet, which is disgusting, it's not done for shock value. It's done in order to characterize James. James sticks his hand down this toilet for the same reason that he sticks his hand in slimy holes, which is something that the remake also repeats multiple times, and for the same reason that he is willing to jump into bottomless pits. It shows how single-minded he is in his desire to find Mary and the truth, while also emphasizing just how cognitively disassociated he is with the entire situation.
Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?
This is not subtle, it is not uncanny, and this does not reflect James's mental state in any way. This is, in a nutshell, everything that critics and skeptics were afraid of when Bloober was announced as the developer of this remake. And here it is, in the final product, completely validating those fears, even though, yes, the game overall still turned out to be pretty good. Bloober's depiction of the otherworld in this remake seems to represent a fundamental misunderstanding of what the otherworld is and how it works, especially in Silent Hill 2, as a reflection of James's subconscious. And it's so weird that they misfired so hard here, because they do seem to perfectly understand so much else of the original game and what made it tick. They even managed to provide their own insight into the original game that elevates the source material, in some cases, as I discussed in the previous video. How did they get that so right, but then get this so wrong? I don't know, maybe this otherworld aesthetic wasn't Bloober's idea at all. Maybe it was some commandment sent down from Konami's corporate brass in order to maintain some kind of product branding or something like that. But as much as I would like to blame Konami for fucking all of this up, even that doesn't make sense, because Silent Hill F doesn't seem to be forcing this particular aesthetic on itself. But then again, that game isn't out yet, so who knows what it will end up looking like. Now, I will concede that Bloober's remake does make an effort to frame itself as some kind of sequel, in which James is trapped in a limbo-like time loop. In fact, James being stuck in a time loop was a fringe fan theory for the original game too, and for some of the exact same reasons. In this context, some of the creative liberties that Bloober made with the remake, such as the changes to the otherworld, can arguably be justified, because this is arguably a different otherworld than the original. If you want to argue that, then fine, I'm not going to fight you over it. It's Bloober's prerogative. I still think that it leads to a lesser game regardless. And all of this is to say nothing of the bloated nature of these otherworld dungeons. There are no locked doors that can never be opened, as was the case in the original. Aside from a large chunk of Blue Creek's first floor, Blue Creek being by far the best otherworld location in the remake forces the player to have to traverse pretty much every
Welcome
room
to my
and
channel.
every nook and cranny of every
How
level.
do you?
Absolutely nothing is left mysterious or up to the player's imagination. If a door is locked,
Adeline.
you will either find a key.
By the way, how has
or you'll
everything
smash
been going though?
Good, I guess. It's early in the morning here, but It's Europe, so it is early in the morning. I'm being harassed by the bird. No more. There we go. Bon voyage. Fatso. Bloated cup. Why is there a thing given? I don't know. Is it like evening at your place? Question mark.
As like RN just bored in the office killing my time and surfing on Twitch. Bug it Adeline. Thanks for following.
Oh, nice.
Master, we are not alone.
It's kind of nice if you have like office space that you can use for you know, relaxation. I don't have personally, I don't have room for that. My workplace, where I actually earn for a paycheck, doesn't have like well, we have an internet, but we don't have really time to browse it. So. Okay. So you randomly stumbled upon my channel, or you're really interested into 7 Days to Die? Did the Twitch actually put me somewhere on recommended? I would be surprised. Oh no. Okay.
But also plans to try some Days to Die this weekend with pals.
I mean, do you like 2.0 version? The one that we are currently? Do you like the addition of the storms? I don't know. Sorry, the delay is like... Oh, my quest failed. Why did it fail? Because I look at the quests. Oh no. Well, sucks. So anyway, what do I want to show? I want to show this. Let me see. Yeah, it's really easy, except this wasteland quest where you actually need to find. You want to create a atomic smoothie, and then you need to hunt down for 20 mutated zombies. This one is a really pain in the ass. They're hard to find. You have to waste acid. You know, the sulfuric acid, the one that you find from a cards. You have to waste it to make a smoothie so you can run around deeper through the zone. And it's stupid. Like, I mean, they could fix that only. The other ones are not that hard to do. Looks like I canceled my quest. Oh no. What a dumbass I am. I don't know.
Play this game together someday.
Maybe. Only if you... Only with the people that use voice chat. Like other than that, it's like a really pain in the ass. And you have to type. If I have to type for every action that I do, it's like... I don't know, it's like early 1990s. But there was not like too many options. People didn't have like mics. I should became lazy. I can type like shit, but I don't want to type like non-stop while playing. It's not really good gameplay. Plastic book. Yep.
We should definite play someday together, like we can collab sometime.
Collab. Well, it's fine. If you start a playthrough and I have like a couple of hours spare, you can just ask me to play and I'll come. I don't mind starting from the beginning with somebody, even if he's like a higher level than me. It's like an added challenge. Yeah, let me show you one thing. So I usually tend to set it, see? This is like super easy for, you know, newcomers. This is a default, and you got here, here.
Add me up my Discord.
I don't know. 101. I mean, you can try to add me. I'm let me see. S.W.Frost 1.
S.W.Frost.
Yeah, that's my Discord, like unique username. Interesting. I don't know. I'll consider it if I see you actually playing the game. A lot of bots and scammers and data phishing people around. If I see you playing and have actually like streaming the game, yeah, it's fine. Bughead Adeline. Interesting. Let me see. Is it like a fake account? Is it? No, it's not. It's account from 2023. Actually impressive. Wow. Wonder is there like a way to change the system? Yeah, that's my Discord username if you're really interested into adding me. The fuck did I cancel the quest? Don't fucking tip me.
My senses have picked up something.
Yeah, there is a XP loss and it's like really terrible. If you die 2 times in a row, on the settings that I play, you're gonna play for next half an hour just grinding XP to get the point where you get like even with the game. So, yeah. Need to be also the maxed out with your combat skill in order to kill anything. I mean, I could play easier, I guess. Still fine. The only difficult part of the game is starting it. Okay.
Are you add me on Discord?
Let me check. Do you stream the game? Do you even stream the game? Oh, I see. You got 557. Your TikTok, Instagram. Interesting. No videos found. Huh. The next stream is at the Sunday. Gamer girl. Wow. I don't know. You add me.
You add me. Yes, added. S.W.Frost is the name.
La 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 la. Well. I don't know.
Yes, add me back.
Add me back. How does that even works? Oh. Huh. 101. That sounds super fake. You know? Add. How do you even find people? 101. Huh. Interesting. Hell. I actually am. Okay. There you go. Boom. That's fine.
Crawl or climb.
Sure. Like, you didn't have to do it now. you could have done it like when you want to like stream or like play. I'm flattered, whatever, but
Say hi on Discord.
hi. Really? Is this some kind of a scam? Let me see. Listen, lady, there you go. Say hi. Hi. Hi, ho. What is up? Don't scam me, Mr. Chinese hacker. There you go. I mean, I don't care. Like, if somebody was to if somebody was to like hack me, I wouldn't bother. Like, I would just like make a new username. Like, fuck off. I don't care. You would solve all my problems like with stealing my identity. I would be like opted out of like tens of different like servers. You would actually do me a favor. So I don't really care if somebody tries to, you know, steal my identity. Like, you would get nothing. I would just say to my friends, oh, that's not me, that's a hacker bot. So, yeah. Huh. Oh, car battery. The fuck? Ground is shaking. Hello.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Fuck. The dumbest ambush I ever saw. Huh. Okay. Country roads take me home to a place I belong. West Virginia. I've been tracking for your stream daily. Last 6 to 7
Tackling.
years.
Welcome to my channel.
Every day. At least once. During 3 days. Around 15 to 17 hours stream. Voila. Well, that is like not really need for me to put any like schedule. Like, why put a schedule when you stream every day? Like, what's the point? Oh. Okay. Wow. You guys really succeed in making like a last stand.
Master, we are not alone.
At least I got like a bunch of parts I can sell. Like the money economy is really busted. Like having a screwdriver or anything and dismantling electronics like 8,000 bucks. It's mind-boggling. Like, yeah, I can do quests, but even if I fail a quest or whatever, like just selling the stuff, it's like really a lot of money. Moldy breads. I'll sell this and this and this and probably this and that, and you wanna sell this? Not really. I wanna sell steel. So this is all the shit that I got from dismantling, and
now that you did the job, I guess
I did it.
ain't that damn bad after all.
Okay, I did it.
Well, come to think of, can't say I'm not surprised. Good luck, kid. Flash some cash, get lost.
Like you're drowning in cash, and the levels are just like flooding. It's so dumb. The intelligence build is so like dumb, overpowered. Yeah, I'd rather buy the quad bags, but nerds, no. Preacher, no. Biker, value weapon damage. Oh.
Thank you very much, and now you can go fuck yourself.
Charming as ever, this man. So it's 1814. I guess I can do like a night quest. I don't know why am I so sus against like online people. The water isn't really an issue here. Okay. Yeah.
Ai neku cipelu tam.
Mad dog. Okay. Damn. A lot of bullets. Solid lot of bullets. I don't use. Cloth and any hope for my farm? Nope. Should probably set up a power relay somewhere. Let me see. Solar panels and 2 solar plates, battery bank, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, relay. Relay. Noche проклята, медена, подлазития завек. Жути висоце, некая выстава гори. Соти самая кралица два. Твоя судьбина. Твоя да Сузана, даю на такую. Hybrid X. Hundred. Okay. Let's see. What can I do this? Push. Okay, let's set up like here. Yeah. No. Whatever. Seems about right. No. No. I'm thinking. This should be like a pillar. This doesn't look nice. Okay, a plate maybe? A plate. That look nice. I think. Like a pillar. And now the scaffolding. Afraid. Yeah. And I was thinking of okay. Which one is the corner? Oh, fuck me. Maybe set up a battery bank.
My senses have picked up something.
Get lost. Next to it. Okay.
Incoming enemy. Prepare for conflict.
Climb your way into that room or hallway. The game repeats these tricks over and over and over again. This game is so combat oriented that it makes you fight literally everything. You have to fight the mannequins, you have to fight nurses, you have to fight mini bosses, you have to fight glass windows, you have to fight the fucking walls in this game. And yes, you have to attack the walls. You have to. These breakable walls and crawl spaces don't hide secrets or optional supplies or bonus collectibles or side quests. In most cases, they block necessary paths of progress on the main campaign, and they are everywhere. Yes, I get that Bloober may have felt it necessary to show the player that it is possible to use a melee weapon to smash down a wall. That way, when you fall into that well in the labyrinth, it won't seem like such a stretch to try attacking the walls. I confess that that could be considered a design flaw of the original game. One could argue that there is no way that the game should expect the player to figure out that you can smash the wall with the plank or pipe. One could also argue that it is part of what makes this little set piece so terrifying. It is very deliberately trying to instill a sense of panic in the player. Are you trapped? Did you accidentally soft lock yourself? Were you supposed to go somewhere else first? How do you get out? Having obtuse mechanics or breaking your own established rules is something that is generally frowned upon in video games. But horror games are one genre that can actually get away with breaking rules and conventions in certain circumstances because it does create very real feelings of panic and paranoia for the player. And this sequence of falling down this well in the original Silent Hill 2 is a perfect example. It forces the player to have to question the game's own rules and mechanics, at the same time that you are questioning James' sanity and the sanity of the other characters around him. It's also, very importantly, something that happens exactly once in the original Silent Hill 2. It is not repeated ad nauseum in the original game. But yet, the remake has us smashing walls with the plank and pipe dozens of times before reaching this analogous set piece. So that when you fall into this well, there is no fear of actually being trapped. There is no panic. You know there's a wall that can be smashed, even if you didn't play the original game. Heck, I actually feel like Bloober should have subverted expectations here and not allowed the player to smash the wall. Add some other way to get out of this trap. That would have subverted the expectations of both remake players and also people who played the original game. Other game developers know how to use restraint in mechanics like this. Specific minor gameplay spoilers incoming for Dead Space, The Last of Us Part 2, and God of War. Skip to the timecode on screen if you don't want to see these spoilers. So, for example, in the original Dead Space, there is a jump scare in which a necromorph ambushes the player immediately after you exit out of a workbench. Or maybe it was a save point, I forget which. It's one or the other, maybe it was both. But it only happens like once in the entire game. This same jump scare is also executed in The Last of Us Part 2, except that the ambush actually happens while using the workbench. The Last of Us Part 2 also totally foreshadows and sets up this ambush with environmental details that will seem obvious to the player in retrospect. Another example is this booby-trapped chest in God of War. I only ever encountered one of these chests in my playthrough. It would not surprise me if there were a few more hidden around that I just never found. In fact, I would actually be surprised if this was, in fact, the only booby-trapped chest in the game. But the point is that these booby-trapped chests are rare, so that when you find one, it's a genuine surprise. Even if you have seen them before, there is such a long time between them that you likely have forgotten that being booby-trapped is a thing that can happen. And, of course, there's plenty of mimics in other games. But what makes those three examples of Dead Space, The Last of Us Part 2, and God of War relevant and important in this discussion is that in each of those games, the ambush only happens once. These game designers have enough sense and restraint to know that the simple threat of these ambushes or booby traps is enough to keep the player on edge for the rest of the game. They don't have to repeatedly spam these ambushes every few minutes to make the player get the point. Bloober lacks this sense of self-restraint, and it's one of the reasons why many of Bloober's critics argue that they fundamentally do not understand horror in the gaming medium. This is exactly what pre-release critics were afraid of, and those critics were 100% correct. The Otherworld dungeons in particular are also exceedingly padded in and of themselves. Puzzles that were originally a relatively simple process of deciphering a single riddle and or finding a single key item or maybe two now require finding multiple items scattered across the level. Every single dungeon in the remake seems like it has to have its own variation of the locked box with a hair in it puzzle, and each key item has to have its own little puzzle or locks to solve. It's so bloated and over-designed that the playtime of the remake can easily be triple or quadruple that of the original game. What was a concise, streamlined experience that could be enjoyed in its entirety, including all of the story cutscenes, in an afternoon or a weekend, now takes days or weeks to slog through. I've replayed the original Silent Hill 2 probably half a dozen times over the years, maybe more, and probably will replay it more in the future. But every time I even consider booting up the remake again, I think about how long and dragged out parts of it are. I'm looking at you, Otherworld, and I just don't have the time or energy for that. I've got other games to play, blogs to write, YouTube videos to edit, board games to play, and oh yeah, a full-time job and a family who I love and want to spend time with. I know that the remake can be completed in well under 10 hours because there's trophies that say so, but this is an atmospheric, story-driven horror game. I do not want to feel pressured to have to rush through the game or to skip cutscenes. If I'm going to play it again, I want to be able to immerse myself in that atmosphere and take in the game's environments and mood so that I can notice details that I missed in my first playthrough. I could do that with the original perfectly comfortably in 6 to 8 hours. The remake taking 16 plus hours is just too damn long. I could play through the first 3 original Silent Hill games in the time it will take to play through remake again. It's a damn shame that Konami hasn't made the original Silent Hill 2 available on digital storefronts. All we have is the subpar HD collection version with all of its glitches, missing textures, and shitty fog effects. And even then, only the PlayStation version is even worth playing since the Xbox version never even got the patches to fix some of the launch problems. Did the Xbox version ever get the original voice cast back? I don't think they got that either. The Silent Hill 2 remake is far from the definitive version of this game, and if it's the only version that is going to survive in perpetuity, then that's a tremendous loss for video gaming as an art form. The remake is fine, it's good. It sure as hell could have turned out a lot worse, but the remake lacks so many of the unique design elements and quirks that gave the original game its distinct personality and which made it so beloved to begin with. Sure, the remake has its own unique design elements that are noteworthy, which I talked about in the previous video, but the remake is also so conventional. It looks and feels just like every other over-the-shoulder horror game of the past 10 years. The original Silent Hill 2 stood out among its peers and cast a long shadow over horror gaming for over 20 years and counting. The remake just kind of blends in with its peers. It's just another good or great remake or reboot in a long, ever-growing line of remakes and reboots. Thanks for watching.
Gotta go to toilet, sorry. Toilet break. I'll be right back. Oh! Electricity. Oh my god. Into your hands I come in my spirit. All into your hands why forsaken me. Well, how much was that? 3 hours? Well, I'm considering watching a movie at this point. Like, I guess I could go with the Claire Obscure.
Est-ce que Noko t'a dit autre chose sur le village, à part qu'il y a des arbres rouges partout?
Il n'est pas très doué pour les détails.
Alors il va falloir réfléchir comme des gestrales.
Prête à esquiver. Danger!
Oh, Maleficinagomirula. Ah, tous les Gomawilo. Ah, Malonino, Pesofosiroto. Oh, Kikakaro. Ah, Bamena, Seta.
tempête approche. Danger.
I can't see. Oh, motherfucker.
On détruit leur bouclier.
Gustave, esquive. Que l'encre coule. Gustave, esquive.
Second souffle.
Tonnerre, éclate.
Parfait.
Et vous? Ave grindavi.
Faisons couler l'encre. Bouclier.
Prépare-toi.
Tonnerre, éclate.
Ce sera utile.
Expédition 53, Lilou. Les autres blessures de Dominique ne sont pas graves et pourtant, elle est dans le coma depuis 2 semaines et son état refuse de s'améliorer. Merde, que faire? On ne peut quand même pas l'abandonner ici, mais... Et la mission? Lance a proposé de lui laisser encore 1 semaine pour se remettre, mais Dom aurait voulu qu'on continue. Elle nous aurait même engueulé comme du poisson pourri pour avoir attendu aussi longtemps. C'est le seul choix possible, je le sais bien. Même s'il me laisse un goût désagréable dans la bouche. Hein, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Ponce a trouvé une plante et l'a testée sur plusieurs animaux. D'après lui, grâce à ça, Dom ne souffrira pas. Il est en train de préparer un breuvage avec. C'est dégueulasse. Et toute cette situation est merdique à souhait, mais... c'est ce qu'elle aurait voulu.
Kako višak?
Ovamo, do cesti. Ali moraš to skinuti tamo, 3-4 kubika. Ali znam da smo, moraš ti 1,5 sata.
Kad dođem, sutra ćemo ujutro to. Nakon ću mi sad to raditi. Kad smo skidali danas 5 policajaca preko reći, zaboravim.
A, 5. Ja i majka ćemo.
Stari ti, majka, sutra ćemo i ti to uraditi.
Comment les gestrades?
Je ne sais pas trop.
Je suis impatiente de... Je vous avais bien...
Non, tu ne l'as...
En tout cas...
sada vadiš cigle, a sipaš si onak. Ajde, stavi to za sutra. Ajde, moj.
A oni će dolje otići. Ne vjerujem da će. To kad se pospi nabijom žabom se... To je ka beton. To je ka beton.
Mam, ne interesuješ. Jebo si me ko kozu da ti vadim tamo zemlju i da rgamo to nas dvojica, što kažeš ti rgamo. Da kopamo staze za cigle i donosio sam cigle i ređaj s njim, ja sam to radio. Nije Simo Kostović, nego Ilija Kostović je to radio. I sad, ne varaju cigle. Ako da nego, dobro, onda treba si odmah da uzmeš onak.
Comment les gestes ralentis? Je ne sais pas trop. Je suis
Ne interesujem. Zato što je džabe, jel? Zato što je džabe dobro.
I ova mašina.
Da, ma ne, pa dobro, baš.
Pa da nabijaš cukač.
Ne bi ga nabija sve.
Ma gdje ovo nabija, Bog te mada te
Ma dobro, živaj. Ovo sve će živa.
On vrti bez mašina. Ćemo malo, nećemo. Lako je to prebačiti, nije ništa ovako. Ja izvadim. Kad se nešto počne, to će se navati.
Samo ti je živaj. Fino si me zajebo da kopam ta gol.
Sarah Nancy. Welcome to my channel.
Une tempête approche.
Tonnerre, éclate! Bouclier!
Une tempête approche.
Il faut s'en débarrasser.
Tonnerre, éclate!
Il faut s'en débarrasser.
En garde! Il faut parer! Je suis prête. Une tempête approche.
Prépare-toi.
Pigmentons-les. Tonnerre, éclate!
Laisse-moi t'aider.
En garde! que l'encre coule.
Désolée, le prends pas mal surtout.
On peut s'en servir.
Comment les gestes ralentis?
Je ne sais pas trop.
Je suis impatiente.
Je vous avais
Non, tu ne l'as pas.
En tout cas, je...
Belle, méfie-toi!
Pigment tombé.
Faisons couler l'encre. Flamme! Obéissez-moi!
Gustave, esquive.
Prépare-toi. Prépare-toi.
Je suis prête. Voilà.
Sur moi.
Faites attention. Prête à esquiver. Prête à esquiver.
Ok.
Attention, Lune.
Une lumière brillante.
Maël, méfie-toi.
Prête à esquiver. La chroma coule à flot.
Merci.
C'était pas assez.
Je vais bien. En défense.
Une tempête approche. Finissons-en. Je suis prête.
Je peux y arriver. Il faut parer.
Faut s'en débarrasser.
Faites attention.
C'est pas bon. Lune, fais gaffe.
1, 2, 3.
La chroma coule à flot. Tremble de peur. Je m'en occupe.
1, 2, 3.
En défense. Je peux y arriver. Tu peux pas nous laisser maintenant.
Attention, Maël.
1, 2, 3.
La chroma coule à flot. Tonnerre, éclat. Je suis prête.
Sur moi.
1, 2, 3.
J'abandonne jamais. Flamme, obéissez-moi. Gustave, ne meurs pas. Survie, s'il te plaît. Je vais bien.
Va. No. Fucking sheep. Fuck you, sheep. Fuck you, sheep.
Off to bed. Take care.
Gotta work soon, so